Hi, my name is Bunny Cakes and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about psychologists. Um, as most of you probably know, unless this is your first video of mine, I have decided to have weight loss surgery. And one of the requirements for that is to get a psychological evaluation from a licensed therapist. And this is one of the hurdles that I did not think was going to be so difficult. And it wasn't difficult for any of the reasons that I would have expected. It turns out I'm perfectly sane, and I've done enough research that the psychologist I ended up speaking to thinks that it's a good decision and that I know what I'm doing. But I ended up, it took so long to find somebody. I called probably every I started out with psychiatrists. I didn't realize that I was supposed to be calling a psychologist. But I'll get to how I got there in a minute. So I called every psychiatrist and every psychologist in the tri-state area. And it turns out that literally none of them take my insurance, which is annoying considering that my insurance is fairly common for this area. It also turned out that, well, I take that back. A couple of them take my insurance, but my insurance doesn't cover psychological evaluations. So, okay, it's fine. Whatever. So I started leaving messages for these therapists and psychologists and psychiatrists and asking for prices about how much this was going to cost. Oh my God, some of them were so expensive. The ones that got back to me were expensive. I called one and she told me that it was going to be $1,400. And I was like, oh my God, I don't have that kind of money. And if I don't get the psych evaluation, I can't have my surgery. So I called a few more places and I called another therapist, and the woman I spoke to was new at the job, and she told me that she would have somebody call me back. And it was a Friday, and she wasn't going to be there till Tuesday, and I guess she couldn't just leave a message, so she said that she would call me back Tuesday. It's been a month. I haven't heard from this lady again. I talked to another psychologist, and his was cheaper. It was just going to be $350, and I said, okay, I'm probably going to go with this one, but I went to shop around. And the first thing that he did that kind of bugged me to no end was I left a message for him. And what you'll eventually figure out is that I go by Trish when I'm not going by Bunny Cakes, and my name is Patricia. And during all official things, I go by Patricia. And I left a message, and I said that my name was Patricia with my last name. Well, it's Kuntz. You'll see it down below. I said my name. Sorry, I'm still getting over a sinus infection. So I left my name and my number and my type of insurance. And when he called me back, he kept calling me Pat. And I will probably discuss this in another video in more detail, but I absolutely hate being called Pat. And it annoys me even further that there was no reason for him to assume that I would like to be called Pat because I left the name Patricia. So after that, I was like, okay, I'm going to get over that. It's just a tiny little pet peeve, and I'm going to get over it and get past it. And he told me that it was just going to be $350, and I said, okay. And I told him, I said, especially because he was a little farther away than I wanted to be. I said, you're kind of far away, and I want to consult with some other therapists to see if I can get a better price or find somebody with a similar price that is closer to home. Because I didn't want to travel 100 miles if I didn't have to. And he seemed a little annoyed by that, but he said okay, and we hung up. And before I had a chance to lay my phone back down, my phone was ringing again, and it was this guy again. And he said, and I've talked to this guy for maybe 5 minutes in my entire life. And he said that he was calling me back because he wanted to be sure that I had considered all of the options before surgery. And I said that I had, because I have. And if you watch my why I decided to have surgery video, you'll see that I have. And then when I told him that, he said, well, I don't think you have. And he said, I want you to come for a weight loss consultation that's not dieting and not exercise and not surgery. And I kind of balked at the idea because I was like, because he said it would also be $350. That drives the price of getting my psych eval up to $700. And I don't have that kind of money. And, like, I could probably afford that, but if it's going to be for something that I'm not going to do, I'm not going to use, I am pretty sound in my decision to have weight loss surgery. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to waste that money. And I told him that. And then he basically explained that his idea was basically hypnosis. And then he went on to say that he would refuse to give me a positive evaluation without going to this seminar first. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I cannot believe that a licensed therapist, a professional, would say something like that. I'm not going to give you a positive psych evaluation if you don't attend this extra seminar so I can try to hypnotize you out of having surgery. And I was like, who does that? So instantly I was like, no, okay, that's not for me. And I told him, you know, I'm not going to go with you. I'm going to find a different therapist. And he ended the conversation in this kind of haughty way. Like, well, I just want to make sure that you've tried all the options because I don't think you have. And I was like, dude, you don't know me. You don't have any of my medical records. I didn't have this channel yet, so there was no way he would be able to find me. And, like, you know nothing about me. Who are you to suggest that I haven't tried other things? And then, on top of that, to suggest that I would need to be hypnotized and that would be better for me than to have weight loss surgery or to even diet. I was like, no, whatever, no. And so I decided that I was just going to wait and find another therapist. So here's the funny part of my finding a psychologist story. Before all of this happened, I had called a local psychiatrist. I thought. I really thought. Because I was going to try to find somebody in my little tiny town that could do this for me so I didn't have to go all the way to anywhere to do this. So I called a couple of I originally started looking for psychiatrists. So I called a couple of the local psychiatrists, and a couple of them didn't offer the psych evaluations. But finally I called the one that was attached to the local hospital here. And I spoke to a lady whose name I don't remember. I'm not even sure she gave me a name. But I told her what I wanted. I told her that I needed a psych evaluation for weight loss surgery. And she said, okay, we do that here. She said, but what you have to do first is you have to see the therapist twice before you can see the psychiatrist. And I said, all right, that's fine. I understand. Okay, that's fairly normal. And I know that because I talked to a psychiatrist in another building. Oh my God, this story. So I said, okay, well, set me up with an appointment with a therapist and we'll get the ball rolling because I need to get this done. And she goes, okay. And she set me up with an appointment with a guy named Travis. And it was going to be on like a Monday or Tuesday at like 8:30 or 9:30. And I was like, okay, all right, whatever. We've got this going. I was like, I found a therapist. We're going to get this psych eval. It's going to be one less step that I have to take. It'll be good. So it gets to a couple of days before, and you know how normally when you make appointments, like, they will call you and remind you have an appointment? Yeah, well, that didn't happen. But I thought, okay, well, maybe, because I've never seen a psychiatrist or psychologist before, not since I've been an adult, um, I thought, well, maybe they do that so that they don't leave a message, and that way there's no embarrassing conversations or whatever, because, there's still that stigma about seeing a psychiatrist and a psychologist. So I was like, okay, and I just brushed it off. And so I went to I looked on Google Maps to see where the therapist was, because I didn't know where they were, even in my tiny little town. And so I went to the place where they were supposed to be. Well, it was basically an abandoned building. So I was like, okay. And I went to a couple of the other psychiatrist places around. And I walked in and, well, actually, before I went to the other places, I called. I got up my cell phone and I pulled up my call history and I hit the number that I dialed to make this appointment. And I called, and when I spoke to the lady, she said she had no idea who I was and no idea who Travis was, and that I didn't have an appointment. I was like, okay, well, I had called a couple of places that day. Maybe I picked the wrong number. So I went to the other psychiatrist places around the area, because they're all in this little clump. And not one of them had heard of me. Not one of them had heard of Travis. And I have no idea who I talked to. So finally, I went to the last one, the last resort, and they decided to try to help me instead of sending me away. And they called the number that I thought I called. And come to find out that they had never heard from me. They don't know who Travis is. They never had an appointment for me. And also, they don't do those psych evaluations. I was like, what? At this point, I'm like, I think I might need a psychiatrist, because I think I've lost my bloody mind. So I don't know who I talked to. I don't know who Travis is. I don't know if I should file a missing persons report about poor Travis because he disappeared. I don't know if I hallucinated that entire phone call. I don't think I did. I have the phone number in my phone from where I called, and I was kind of having a tiny little bit of a meltdown standing there talking to the receptionist at this last psychiatrist's office. And she was like, no, I don't think you're crazy. She's like, I don't know who you talked to or who Travis is, but I don't think you're crazy. And she helped me she told me that what I needed to do was actually find a psychologist. And she gave me a few numbers to look up, to call rather. And that led into the beginning of this video where I called everybody. But it just feels so funny. I'm like, I don't know who Travis is or who I spoke to. And like, I would actually be 100% okay if the lady at the hospital had said, well, a mental patient had got a hold of the phone and that's who you talked to. Because that would make me feel less crazy. I mean, I would be a little less confident in the hospital, but I would feel less crazy. And right now, I kind of feel like I'm doubting my sanity. And so does my family. Because I can't live down the fact that I spoke to what was apparently an imaginary receptionist about an imaginary therapist. So there's that. I hope that you guys can laugh at my pain and kind of grumble along with me about the first part of the story, where it was just so difficult to find a psychologist. I did eventually find a psychologist. And I ended up having to find them on a bariatric weight loss surgery website. But it ended up being like $150, and it was like a 20-minute phone conversation. And it worked for my surgeon. So, yay. It was a little hard getting there, but at least it got done. And I'm on the road once again to having my surgery. I hope you enjoyed the story. And if you like my content and you would like to see more of it, please hit the subscribe button below and follow me on all my social media. And remember, be strong, laugh when you can, and always, always take care of yourself.